All right, man. Welcome to today's episode, How You Are Manipulating Your Wife. So, guys, this has been one of the most impactful, most meaningful weeks of my life. And I'm excited to share some of the lessons with you. The truth is, you are manipulating your wife right now, and you can either use that in a good way or you can use it in a bad way, in a problematic way. We'll get into what I mean by that later on. So my wife and I, as I mentioned last week, we started therapy with a sex therapist. Her name's Kristen Araglado Hurley. Man, it was something else. So she was trained by Dr. David Schnarch, who is a guy I really respect and admire a lot. But just in that first session, she brought up a pattern that had been going on throughout our marriage that really neither of us had seen, or at least had really paid enough attention to. And really what that had been was me, you know, uh, when it came to sex, like pursuing sex with my wife and her saying, yeah, it's okay. But all of her other cues basically being that she wasn't really okay with it, but me still going through with it. So just not being very interested, kind of withdrawing, kind of just, being there, but not really involved with it. I could tell, I could see it. And what really came to my attention in that session was, man, like that was in a way abusive, right? Like I could tell she didn't really want to, but I just went through with it anyway. And, what kind of guy would do that? And why would she, trust me or want to open up to me sexually or emotionally if I'm just going to kind of blow right through her not really wanting to have that? And so, man, we had minimized that. We'd said, oh, it was a long time ago, or, it wasn't that bad or whatever. But really, it was taking advantage of her and placing my own desires really way above hers, not really considering her. And man, that hit me so hard. I feel awful about that. And at first, when she brought that up, what I said was, I feel very ashamed of that. I feel embarrassed. And again, the Kristen, the therapist, she brought to my attention, like, why is that still selfish? And I realized that's still selfish because I'm still not even thinking about how it impacted her. I'm thinking about how it impacted me. And man, that was just such a hard thing for me to see, but really important. Um, so, that kind of got me started just thinking of just how I had been so selfish, not just in sex, but that was like just really showing a a pattern that was throughout our whole marriage, where it was more about me. It was more about, you know, my wife building me up. And what I talk about the mosquito, but I saw this in a much deeper way, and just how bad it actually was. So it really kind of sent me reeling in a way where, during the week I was confused. I was kind of out of it. Um, my wife, she actually recommended that I take a weekend by myself and just kind of think through this, which I really appreciate, and I did. Um, so I stayed at a hotel. I was by the beach. It was really nice. Was able to look out over the ocean, take walks there at night, and read through the book Brain Talk by David Schnarch, which I would highly, highly recommend. I'll put it in the show notes. Um, but it really helped me really examine things. And I found, you know, that my selfish thinking and behavior, it was not just in my marriage, but it was in a lot of my relationships, pretty much all of them. Um, one of the big ways that I was doing that is getting to know people, but just like as far as I felt it was useful to me, like as long as I was getting kind of what I wanted out of the relationship, that's how much I would learn about people. Um, Man, that's just so selfish. Um, Surrounding myself with people who were really complimentary and told me how great I was, and um, again, but not really getting to know them deeply, because it was, again, just more about me and what was in it for me. I realized the big question I was always asking in my relationships is, what's in it for me? And man, that was hard to see, but important. I'd talk about myself a lot when I was around other people with them. And so, the first day or so, I just really looked at that, and, you know, found all those ways where I was doing that. I sent apology notes to my brothers and my close friends, and even had a chance to apologize to one of my close friends in person. Um, and it was hard, but good. And they were all very kind and understanding. And um, I think it's going to be the start of something so much better with all of my relationships. Um, but the book is great. The book Brain Talk by David Schnarch. But really, the part that I felt like sort of summarized it was at the end, where he talks about the idea of moves and how we make moves on people. So the way he defines that is, we're always trying to, move people into positions or out of certain positions. And, I titled this, how you're manipulating your wife. So that could be called manipulation, right? We're trying to move people into certain emotional states or physical states or whatever, and out of other ones. So what I found, right, is that I'd really been trying to move my wife into certain positions because of my own insecurities. Okay. So, we talk about spiritual, mental, emotional, and sexual strength in this course. That's what it's about. And what I was trying to do is actually move her out of that in a lot of areas. I was trying to move her into emotional dependence on me. I wanted to be her best friend, her confidant, and all that. I actually would get jealous of, her friends and other people, even her therapists, people that she'd talk to more than me, um, because I wanted her to be dependent on me. And, again, it's hard to see, but important. Financially, right? I wanted to have her financially dependent on me, to where when her business started making a lot more money, um, that was threatening to me. That I didn't want her to be independent in that way. Sexually, I wanted her to feel obligated to me, that she owed it to me, right? Um, Spiritually, I wanted her to just kind of follow the line that I wanted, so that we could sort of, be together, but also just so I wouldn't feel anxious. Is kind of the bottom line of it. Again, all very selfish, all about me, 100%. Um, and even as I would do that with my kids as well, and not as bad, thankfully. As I looked at this closely, I feel like I've done a better job, not making it all about me, but making it about my kids and how I can help them better. But still, I caught a lot of places where I was not doing that. So I thought but it was just so important to see these old moves and even look at my own kind of upbringing and all of that, and seeing, where did I learn these? Where did I see that, growing up and all that? So what was really useful for me, though, is to look at all those old moves. Where am I trying to move the people around me? Because, again, the truth is, I feel like we're always trying to do that in the relationships we have with people. We're always trying to move them one way or another, and we can either be unconscious about that and very selfish, which is what I did for most of my life. And I'm hoping this turns over a whole new leaf in my life. I can feel it. I sense it. I have been deliberate about how I'm going to go forward with that. That's what I'm going to share with you right now. Um, so we're always trying to move people. So let's just at least do it on purpose. We're going to be manipulative. Let's do it in a way that's going to be useful and pro social, right? Positive for the world and for us. So one of the big things that I started doing, and I'm going to do throughout this year, is doing a map of people. So uh, really starting to just care about the people in my life, because I care about them, instead of like, oh yeah, I'll do this, but I want something back. Yeah, I'll spend some time with you, but if you spend some time with me, yeah, I'll, you know, learn some stuff about you, but only if you learn some stuff about me. Instead of that, you know, like I did this with one of my close friends, just a few days ago. I just sat down and just was like, okay, listen, man, like who's in your life? Like, tell me about your family. Tell me who your friends are. Tell me what your interests are. What do you like about work, right? And all of this. And I actually just took the time and just wrote it all out. Because for me, sometimes I can forget this stuff, and I'm really seeing that this book, and I'm still trying to figure out where I'm going to keep all this information, but I can see this is going to be like a real treasure, um, where I keep this information and this map about the people that are important in my life. um, I really honor that, and it means a lot to me that people would be willing to share that with me. But the big shift that's happened in me is I'm doing that just because I care about these people. I want to really understand them at a deep level and improve those relationships, and not have it just be about what they can give me or all that. I'm really looking forward to it. Just doing it with this friend of mine was a really cool experience, and I'm looking forward to continue doing that. So for my wife, right, what I realized where I want to move her, the kind of the big phrases that came to mind were freedom, experimentation, choice, trust. So I'll explain that a little bit more. So for spiritually, right, I want her to feel spiritually free, to be able to experiment and to choose, right? Where before I was like, no, you need to like toe the line. You need to follow exactly what I'm saying. Now I'm saying, look, I want you and the kids to be able to experiment. I'm going to tell you the things that have been helpful for me, and I want you to just try it, right? Try it for yourself. See if the fruit is good. See if you feel peaceful. See if it's useful for you, and to, experiment in that way, right? And to choose instead of just like, oh, you better toe the line, right? Um, for my wife, right? Trust, huge. I want to move her into trusting me. The way I do that is by being trustworthy. That's the only way to do it. I want to move her into emotional resilience instead of emotional dependence. So what does that mean? That means that I am for sure supportive, because I want to be that kind of guy. I want to be there for her, but I also want to foster her having connections with other people, and a connection with God. When it comes to spirituality, to me, that's what it's all about. It's building that relationship with God, and what's the way that's going to do that and feel the best for her. Financially, I want her to be free and to be able to choose whether she works or not. For me, I want to make enough money to where she can choose whether she wants to work or not. I've been able to do that. I feel good about that. But now also understanding, like, hey, if she wants to go and make money, that's great, and not needing her to be dependent on me. Sexually, to also be able to feel free, right? To feel like she can share that with me or she cannot. Um, and to choose me sexually, that's where I want to move her. But how do I do that? I do that by being a great choice, right? I want her to choose me. I don't want her to feel obligated, like she has to have sex with me, or she has to because she can't with anybody else, but because she actually wants that with me. And we've been able to create some great moments just in the last couple of days that are a lot more intimate, a lot more connecting in that way. Um, and I think a big part of it is because I'm seeing it more in this way. So with the kids too, right? I want it's pretty similar. I want them spiritually to do those experiments, to choose, to trust me. I need to be trustworthy, to be emotionally resilient. So teaching them, the tools that I know, and helping them in that way. Financially, like how do they learn about these things? Strong in body, how do I do that? I display it myself. I build that up myself, and then I teach them the things that I know. Uh, but again, not making it about me, like, oh, you better follow me and follow my footsteps or whatever, but just like, no, these things have been great for me. I want to share them with you so you can try them out and see what works for you. So it's just a very different mindset. Um, and for my clients, right, same idea. Like we talk about building all these strengths. That's what I want for them, for you guys. And again, how do I encourage those things? By being trustworthy, by being open, encouraging, by showing genuine care and concern, sharing what I learned, inviting, challenging, doing those things. This experience going through with the therapist, Kristen, it's going to help me be such a better coach, and um, finding all this negative in me has been really difficult, but really important. And like, I just feel much more whole as a person. I feel more grounded. I feel like I'd be okay if I didn't make any more money ever. If I just stopped doing this work, I'd be okay. Um, it's an interesting feeling, being able to see all that bad and know it's a part of me, and being able to choose good. It's kind of hard to describe, but I just feel very solid, grounded, whole. I'm not going to stop doing this work because I enjoy it, but I know I'd be okay if I stopped. It's a weird feeling, but a good one. So then day to day, how do I do this? I told my family about these old moves that I'd been doing, and I asked them when they see them to call me out. Because one thing that I really realized from this book and from starting therapy is I can't see it myself all the time, right? Often an outside perspective is more valuable, and so getting that from people is something that I want. I want that feedback. Um, so then also just spending time considering what's happening in my family's life, how can I support them, mapping out my family and close friends, and that's been really powerful. And then setting aside time each week for my wife, my kids, my friends, um, so I can build those relationships. So in summary, outside perspective, it is invaluable if you want you to take your relationships in particular to a deeper level, because they can give you more information about kind of how you're behaving in relationships than often you can. Like I used to really think insight all the way, just like think about it, you'll find it. But as going through this process, man, just in 1 hour, like this therapist was able to see patterns that had been there forever that neither of us had really seen. um, Mapping other people, it's a great tool to deepen relationships. Just take that time, sit down, what's going on in your family, what are you thinking about, what are your hopes, dreams, fears, and just like write it out and then reference it. So you, like I said, I really feel like this is going to be like my best treasure as I put this book or document together. The book Brain Talk by David Schnarch, it's going to help you see those negative patterns in yourself and others. It's going to help you look at your upbringing and kind of what patterns were there and how you are maybe repeating some of those uh, without being really conscious of it. Um, the other thing is just examine really closely where you're trying to move the people in your life. Are you trying to move them into a dependent state on you? Because that's kind of the natural thing. If you're not secure enough, if you're not strong enough in body, mind, heart, and spirit, in self-esteem, self-worth, you do tend to do that, especially if you saw that growing up. um, so then finding those old moves, those old patterns, and then deciding deliberately where you do want to move the important people in your life. Where do you want them to move? Because again, I believe we are always trying to move the people around us. We're always sort of trying to manipulate the people around us, but we can either do that in a way that's really useful and is going to benefit us and the people around us, or we can do it in a way that's destructive and problematic. And we tend to go that destructive and problematic way unless we really are conscious about this. So, and set aside time for self-examination, relationship building, and coaching, right? Get some outside perspective on this. Get feedback from people to call out those old moves, the people that you interact with, and, a coach or someone that can really bring a professional and outside perspective to it. All right, man. So huge week for me. This is really going to change a lot of the way that I work with my clients. So I'm excited for that, and it's going to change the way that I interact with my friends and family. And I'm just super grateful for the things that I've learned. Hope this is helpful for you. Stay strong, man, and we will see you next episode.